Hi everyone. So in this tutorial that we are going to see how to implement a three-tier architecture model in Servlet. Since it is three-tier architecture, there will be three important things. One is called a client, a front end, and then we have a back end. In between these two, we are going to have a middleware. Front end is technically called as a client program. Back end is known as a database. Middleware is going to be a server program. Client program is used for making requests. Request will be sent to middleware. The server will process that request with the help of backend database and will return response back to the client program. So this is the mechanism of three-tier architecture model that we are going to implement in Servlet. Let's see how to code it. Thank you. So first we need to create a database. The database that we are going to create in MySQL. So here I am opening MySQL command line. In the command prompt, we need to use MySQL create command. To create a database, we use this query create database. Our database name is MyDB. Database is created. Inside the database, we are going to create a table. Table to store two values, name and address. So how to create a table means we need to issue this MySQL query create table. Then we need to mention table name. Our table name is my table, which has two fields. One is for storing name, another one is for storing address. So before creating table, we need to select this database. Use MyDB we need to use. Once database is selected, we need to create table. Now the table is created. The backend is over now. Let us see the client. Now open NetBeans. Go to File, select New Project. In the categories, select Java Web. In the projects, select Web Application and then press Next button. So here we need to give our project name. Our project name is, make it as My Project. Then click Next button. So here we need to select any one server. Then we are going to select Apache Tomcat server. Then press Next button. So here we need to select any one framework. At this stage we don't need any framework, so no need to select anything. Just you press Finish button. The project setup is creating by the NetBeans. It's created. Our project name is My Project. If you expand this, we have four important things. There are four subfolders. One is web pages, source packages, libraries and configuration files. All the client program will be stored inside the web pages. The server program will be stored in the source packages, libraries, that is used for adding some third-party library if it is required to support the successful execution of this program. The configuration is about some setup which is created by NetBeans for our project. Let's see how to create client program. Our client program is, as I told earlier, it is going to be a HTML file that is used for creating a request. So in this, we are going to use some markup tags for creating two text boxes. One is for entering name, another one is for entering address. To create a text boxes, we need to use input tag. Before that, we must create the appropriate label. So I am going to create a label in the name of name label. Label is created. To create a text box, we use input tag and its attribute, type attribute, where we need to mention text, which is responsible for creating text box. The input tag has another one attribute called name, where we need to mention a name for the text box. Here I am going to give name as name for this text box. This name is given to identify this text box. Then create another one label, address, close the label. Then for entering address, we create another one text box using input tag. The attribute is type, where we mention text, and for identifying this address, we use name attribute, where we are going to give a name for it. Name is address. Using this, we can identify this text box, and the value that has been entered here, we will transport to server program after clicking a button. To create a button, we use input tag, the type attribute, we need to mention submit. The name of the submit button is, make it as send. Once the submit button is clicked, these two information will be sent to server. To send this, all these three controls must be enclosed within form tag. The form tag has an attribute called method, where we need to mention any one HTTP protocol. So here we are going to use post method. Also, the form tag has one more attribute called action, which is used for mentioning the request URL mapper, and we are going to create a URL mapper in the name of 3-tier. Now we need to close the form tag. So now the client program is ready. If you want format it, format. Now it is over. Save the client program. Next we are going to create Servlet program. To create a Servlet program, go to source packages, right click on that, select new, then choose this Servlet option. So here we need to give a name to our servlet, and our servlet is my servlet. then press next button, then I think already my servlet is already available. So can we give some other name? Make it as three tier. Next, and press finish button. So the outline of the servlet program is created by the NetBeans, and we don't want these things since we are going to hard code it. Our servlet program name is 3-tier that extends an interface called HTTP servlet, which indicates our servlet is a kind of HTTP servlet. We have two kind of servlets. One is HTTP servlet, another one is called generic servlet. The HTTP servlet is that uses HTTP protocol, whereas generic protocol that is generic to any one protocol, not specific for one protocol, but HTTP protocol that requires HTTP servlet requires HTTP protocol. So we are going to use a HTTP servlet here, and this is URL mapper. The name of the URL mapper is 3-tier. Our servlet is mapped with this URL mapper. The client program that uses the URL mapper rather server name. So inside the 3-tier servlet, we need to create any one of the lifecycle method of our servlet. So we are going to use doPost method of 3-tier servlet lifecycle method. The reason is in the HTML file we used post method. If you use post method in the server program, we need to use doPost method for processing that request. So we need to create, first we are going to create a doPost method. The doPost method is, which has the syntax of public void doPost, which has two attributes. The one is HTTP servlet request. The second attribute is HTTP servlet response. This doPost will throw an exception that we need to handle it. Throws servlet exception. Now the doPost method is created. Inside that we process the request and we create response. So inside this, the first step is, first we are going to specify the response type, content type. To specify the response content type, we need to use set content type method of response object. The request object is used for getting request information that will be processed, then response will be created. The response will be included in this response object. This will be transported to client program. So first step is we are going to specify the response content type. To specify the response content type, we need to use a set content type method of response object. Our response type is another one HTML, so we need to specify like this, text or HTML. Second thing is to create a response, we need a print writer object, so create object for the print writer. So print writer is an IO class. Object name is, make it as out response dot get writer. Now the print writer object is created. This get writer will need to throw an exception called IO exception. So you throw it here. So next step is we are going to receive requests that are coming from client program HTML. To receive request, we need to use this object and its method request dot get parameter method. We need to use where we need to specify the parameter detail. The HTML we have two text boxes and its names are going to be parameter name, and the values of the parameter are whatever the value that we are entering here. So we need to call that name. The name of the first text box is name. Use it here. This get parameter returns a string value, so assign the result to a string variable. Here we are going to use a name string variable. Then another one string variable which is used for storing the next parameter value address. Now the informations are received and we need to process it. So here the objective is we need to send it back to the backend MySQL database. To send it, first we need to connect our Servlet program with the database. To connect, we need to register database drivers. To register database driver, we use class.forName method where we need to specify the database driver. Our driver program is com.mysql.jdpc.driver. This will throw a class not found exception that we need to handle it. We cannot throw this one, rather we need to explicitly handle it. So to handle that we use try catch method. This print stack trace is used for printing exception if it occurs during the execution of the program. So the driver is now registered. Once it is registered, we need to establish connection with the database. So how to create connection means, to create a connection we need to use connection class. Connection con is equal to driver manager dot get connection. So in the get connection, we need to use three attributes. The first attribute, we need to specify our database name. So how do we specify our database name is jdbc colon mysql colon / localhost / our db name. Our db name is mydb. Then we need to specify the username and password to open this mydb. To open this mydb, we need to use root and admin things. Is the username, admin is the password that I have created while installing the MySQL. I am using it here. This connection class, the appropriate connection class should have to be imported. For that, right click on that where we select fix inputs. This is our appropriate connection class. Select it. Now the connection is created. Once connection is created, create statement object. With the help of statement object, a query can be executed. So to create statement object, we use statement class. Now the statement object is created. We need to import appropriate class. Right click on that. Go to fix imports. MySQL statement. SQL statement is the appropriate class. You select it. Statement object is imported here. See that. Once that object is created, we write query. The query is here. Insert query. So create it. Insert into table name is my table. Values, the first one is name. We need to import it. Then address, this is that appropriate insert query that we need to create. This name and address are string variables. So you all know that if you want to insert string value inside a table, we need to use that should be enclosed within single quotes. So I am creating it. Now the query is ready. With the help of statement object, this has to be executed. Now execute st dot execute update method. We need to call it execute update method. Our query name is query variable. This execute update will return integer value. If it is success, will return 1. The insertion is unsuccessful, will return 0. So I am going to assign it to a integer variable. So if result is equal to 1, we create a response message, a successful response message. With this help of out object, we are going to create out.print h1 success message. else and success message. Then we need to close the printer object using close method. Now the server program is ready. Save this program and do formatting. Now we need to build the project. To build a project, go to folder My Project, right click on that, and we need to select the option Build. Before building, we must ensure that MySQL and Apache Tomcat server both are running. To ensure that, go to Services. So here we have option expand this. We have a MySQL server. See, already I am started that working. It's running in my machine. Also, the server is check that also running. So we must ensure that. Now go to project, right click on that and select build option. The project is successfully built. During the building, a WAR file will be created. WAR indicates web archive file. This contains our servlet program along with some libraries. One important thing is, before building, to connect our database, we use these drivers. So in order to use this driver, we need to use its libraries. These libraries are already available in the internet, freely available. Jar file for this driver is available. We need to download it and we need to include in this libraries folder. Already I have downloaded, so just I'm going to include in the library folder. Right click on that, select add jar or folder. This is jar file, open it. So the driver details are available in this MySQL jar file. It is important, we need to include it. Now go to my project, select clean and build option. Now the WAR file is created with all the third-party library files. This contains Servlet program as well as libraries and some configuration settings. This jar file has to be deployed in Apache Tomcat server. In the Tomcat server, there will be a servlet container where this var file will be deployed. The request will be handed out to this var file, which will work on that and will create response. That response will be come back to client program. Now let's see, run the project. Go to my project, right click on that, select run option. The deployment is going on. And the browser is opened. Our client program is running here. So here I am typing a name, after clicking this button, this information has to be sent to backend database where it inserted and we got success message. And this is our URL mapper. We need to ensure that it is inserted or not. Go to MySQL command line and use select star from my table. See, inserted. This is about demonstration of three-tier architecture, where a client program is used for creating requests that is received by the server program, which is created by Servlet. That request is stored in the database. Our database is MySQL. That's all about this program. Thank you.